Hi, everyone. Cheryl and I are here with our kickoff keynote speaker for the Healing Trauma Conference on April 30th at 4 o'clock, Christina Helena. And we just wanted to take a
Hi.
few minutes to, you know, tell you a little bit about her, but not too much, because we want you to sign up for the conference. Christina, how did you find us? How did you find out about the Healing Trauma Conference?
Through the best way in the whole world, Google.
Of course, I'm just saying
I'm
we're out there.
so interested in the subject matter of healing trauma that I'm constantly reading and learning about trauma. I don't think you can ever know everything. So there's infinite amount of information about trauma and understanding trauma. So I Google the subject all the time. And I found Halen House and I found the Healing Trauma Conference. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, this is perfect because we're in complete alignment. Everything I love, everything that I believe in, everything that I've experienced through my own personal story is so in alignment with healing trauma. And I just decided to reach out to you and say, hey,
I am so happy you did, that you found us. Thank you, Google.
thank you, Google.
Thank you, Google. So tell us, why is it so important for you to share your story? Do you think that that's part of the healing process, or what is it for you that makes you want to share your story?
Yeah, that's a really great question. It is for me. Sharing our stories, I think, is important because when we do, we understand that we're not alone. I think feeling alone in our adversity, our challenges, our trauma, sometimes in the reactions to our trauma is very real for a lot of people. And I know that that was real for me. I felt alone for many, many years. And it wasn't until I began to share my story as a performer. As you know, I've turned my story into a solo show. And when I started to perform my story, I was blown away by how many people would reach out to me and talk to me about their own experiences with trauma and sometimes similar traumas to what I was experiencing or had experienced, and sometimes completely different. But regardless, trauma can sometimes have the exact same reactions. We don't all have to go through the same event, the same traumatic event, but sometimes the idea, the experience of trauma has similar reactions. And that's when I realized that it was really important to share our stories so we can all see that I am you, you are me. We're all going through similar versions of trauma. I think it's pretty much impossible to be a human being and not have had trauma. We're born, and at some point, we're all going to die. And in between is life. And life includes trauma and living and learning. But it's so important to heal that trauma. And I think that is the part that can be very tricky and very challenging for people. I know it was for me. It took me a long time to figure out how to heal my trauma, to even be ready to face my trauma. And I think it's important to share my story. And I'm also a performer, a speaker. It's a natural way for me to share my story. And I love the opportunity to share it, but then also continue the conversation with other people about their trauma because I've learned a lot from other people sharing their trauma with me about my own self.
Yes, that's what we found too.
Awesome.
Cheryl, did you have anything? Did
I do.
you want to ask me before we go?
Christina, Suzanne and I know what was one of the things that was traumatic for you that you're going to mention at the conference and get into a little bit more detail about, but can you share that just briefly with the folks who are watching this?
Yes, absolutely. So, my journey of beginning to heal my trauma began with facing a major trauma, which was getting diagnosed with pancreatic cancer at 19 years old and being told that I had 6 months to live. And that for me was another trauma, and it was pretty unearthing. So that was the beginning of healing my trauma for me, which began with a major trauma. And that may sound wild, but well, you'll find out on April 30th why it's not wild and why for me it was just kind of the perfect journey.
Exactly. I am so yes, we know a little bit of your story, but I am really looking forward to hearing the whole story. And I'm sure it's going to touch so many people's lives. And because that's one of our things, we want people to know that healing is possible. And that's
Yes.
what they're going to learn about on, like I said, April 30th at 4 p.m. Our time. Actually, Christina's from New York City, so she'll be coming to us live from New York City. So anyway, everyone go to the healingtraumaconference.com and register. Early bird special pricing is through April 15th. So go on and do that as soon as possible. Bye, everybody.
Thanks,
Bye.
Christina.
My
Thanks.
pleasure. Can't wait. Thank you.
Bye-bye.